All right, guys, thought I'd just do a quick patch rundown because I feel like I've got a bit of a different opinion as to most of the people, it seems. I'm not trying to be a negative hater of PoE 2. You know I love PoE. But I feel like we should just be honest in what we're seeing, or at least I'll be honest in what I'm seeing. You can tell me I'm right or wrong. For me, these changes don't really do anything for the reason I'm not playing the game. So the reason I'm not playing the game is I feel like I've ran a couple of characters through the campaign. I've got to tier 15 maps. There's not really any crazy endgame gear to aim for. Items that drop are either good or bad. You can't be like, well, this is a temple glove. The suffixes have cold res. I'm going to lightning swap that to have lightning. Now it's going to be crit chance against shocked enemies. Then I'm going to prefix can't be changed. Then I'm going to reforge whatever. Then I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like there's no end game crafting. And so basically you're playing for, can I find a weapon or a piece of gear that's better than the current one I've got? If you've traded, for your gear, you're probably not going to find it. So I'm going to tell you the patch notes. I'm just going to give you a quick few thoughts because I know when a big game comes out and it's mega popular, right? It's easy to jump on the hype train, but I've always just looked at it coldly, and I'll just say what I think. So for me, the maps, right, the towers, are better, right? Basically, the tower that you had to use was forced. You had to go into it. It was a must-need piece of content, and it had no monsters, so you didn't want to use your high-tier maps. Well, they've buffed them. They've changed them a little bit, and that's a good change. But it still doesn't alleviate the problem of having to go into the tower every single time, and that the fact the Atlas is a bit like Delve, which some people just don't like Delve because you can't sit and grind. You can't put your music on and blast 100 hours of Mesa with Juice and Delirium or whatever you choose to put on it. You've got to follow the Delve train of node to node to node, experiencing some maps that you don't like. Some maps have content on that your build isn't very good at. Like you might path through a build that has Delirium on it and you're not really a Delirium style build, but nothing changes from that. So larger maps are going to have more rare monsters, etc. Like they're doing a little bit of a pass. Okay, the maps are slightly more juicy, but doesn't change the overall issue a lot of people have. Now, Arbiter of Ash is going to have 6 attempts with higher difficulties offering few attempts, right? They want to do that with all pinnacle bosses. I like that change. But then the whole idea of we're going to make a really hard Dark Souls games, we want players to really work for the loot, you know, all of this stuff. You know, if that's the vision they're sticking with, then this kind of goes against it. And it means that people will be able to kind of not zerg down a boss, because I believe you still have to do it in one attempt, but there'll be a lot more loot on the server, and things will be a lot more achievable to purchase and maybe cheaper in the sense that eventually the drops become worthless. I'm not saying this is a bad change. This is a good change. But what I'm trying to point out is, what is the vision? Are they sticking with super hard PoE or what? Next, combat, reducing ground clutter. The videos that I've seen, it's not that big. I still think it's going to be a visual mess. You put Delirium on top of this terrain, this bushy, leafy terrain. I still think it's going to be very difficult to see. You can zoom out a little bit more on the Atlas of Worlds. There's better loading time. Now, citadels now are marked. That's good, right? That's good. But again, for most people, if you don't want a boss and you don't want to do that type of content, you're still just pathing through node after node after node, and you might not like the actual way the Atlas functions because it's fundamentally changed, right? Splinters from simulacrums have increased by 20%, but 20% of nothing is nothing. Omens will appear 60% more in Ritual. Okay, that's good. That helps with crafting, but Ritual absolutely sucks. It is super difficult to do any high tier rituals unless your build is really busted. And Ritual feels like PoE 1 on steroids, because at least PoE 1, your build was on steroids with move speed and everything. In Ritual, it's just as ridiculous, but you now have no tools, and they're going to make Expedition vendors slightly better. Look, I'm not trying to be negative, but just look at it coldly. Most of these changes they're doing, making empty maps have a few more monsters, making the tower map not basically waste a map, making omens drop a little bit more in Ritual, slightly increasing Expedition, and slightly increasing Splinter drops. These are all things that were basically solved in PoE 1. They undid them, and now they're trying to resolve them again. Most of the uniques that are getting buffed, I've seen some of the clips of them. It's like a level mace that goes from 8 to 12 fizz. Now it goes from like 16 to 18 fizz, but it's got 20% reduced attack speed in classic PoE fashion. Now, socketable items like runes will be able to be overwritten. I like that. That means that you're still kind of wasting a rune, but you can change it, if that makes sense. So you can't take the rune out, but you can overwrite it, and I think that's decent. Armor will be receiving a modest buff. Doesn't sound like much there, but it could be. There's going to be an item filter for console players, and you're going to be able to see when your charms are popped. And they discussed about a security case. And that's it. Now, I know in future they'll be doing more stuff to the game, but the idea that we see videos like game-changing update and, you know, the game's, you know, fixed and everything, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I totally agree with it. You know, I agree that GGG are a good company, one of the best, and the games that they've made have always been fun. And so you can give them more leniency because the chances are they will make a good game. However, I think for me and many other players, the way the game works fundamentally isn't ever going to be changed, so we're not sure if we'll ever really enjoy it. The idea that the game wants you to combo skills and one button builds get basically nerfed. I'm not sure I want to do combo skills. I'm not sure I want to be surrounded. I'm not sure I want my maps to have one portal when I can be one shot from random monsters that I have no chance of dealing with because they have a load of crazy mods and my character's pretty weak and slow. This might sound like, oh bro, you're just bad at the game and you're moaning. I'm just telling you how it is from my perspective in the guild that I'm in. A lot of people look at this map here and they go, all right, well, I've got a path through this node here, which is Expedition. I don't really like it. This node here I could go up to, but I really want to play Breach, and there's no breaches, so I'm going to go to this node and do this breach. And then that forces me to play one of these two maps. Maybe I don't like the layout. Maybe I don't want to do Ritual. Maybe I don't want to do a boss because I'm leveling, or whatever, right? It's a bit like Delve, where it gets repetitive, the maps get repetitive, traveling from node to node to node, managing, put the map in the node, put the map in the node. All of this stuff is a bit annoying. I mean, you could easily do something where if you control click a string of maps, then you can put it in your map device and it will eat those nodes, if that makes any sense. You know, just to put the map device in, run the tower. So a lot of people just genuinely don't really like that style of gameplay, and that's okay. They're going to make strong boxes spawn a little bit faster, by the way, folks. Getting a little bit of lag here on the YouTube video. And they're going to make some volatiles spawn a little bit more clear. But I still think that fundamentally, if you don't enjoy PoE 2 to its highest, you're probably going to struggle to enjoy this. Now, they are thinking of doing a league, aka just reset the economy, all your characters go to standard, and then you have to re-level new characters if you want to take advantage of that new economy. Most people probably don't want to level another character in early access. I'm just being frank with you. You know, I know everybody likes to think that PoE players are mega super hardcore, and they can be when they get hooked in, but if they're not totally hooked in, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people think, man, I don't want to re-level a character. Don't know what's going on with my internet today. For some reason, this video just doesn't want to load. But you can see here the Arbiter of Ash. Yeah, it's just stuttering for some reason. Obviously, there are certain mechanics that can one-shot you when you don't have a chance to learn the fight. Now you will have a chance to learn the fight because, well, you'll get 6 attempts on the lower difficulty, which seems a little bit better. But again, it's still a very fast boss fight, and if you're playing a slow, tanky character, everything's very juxtaposed to their vision. They want super clean, crisp combat, but also everything to be really fast and one-shotty. A lot of people just get tired of that, and again, I keep saying it because I say it in most of my PoE 2 videos. PoE 2 is a great game, but I think most of the players that play PoE 2 and PoE 1 want to just chuck on some music, chain maps, get drops, farm content they enjoy, and craft items they want to make specific for their build. Like, yo, this bit, like, I mean, look at some of the buffs on this. It's gone from increased armor. This has got bleeding. This has got some crit chance, some base crit. This has got 20% reduced attack speed. Yep, this has got a little bit more armor. And some resistances. I know these are just low level, you know, sort of uniques, but Dodri's tenure getting 20 energy shield, is that really something to get excited about? Does that really change the fact that the item's probably not going to be used? My point is, I'm not trying to hate, but the idea that this has suddenly solved all of the problems, I don't think is necessarily true. And I think if you're on the fence and you're not fully invested in PoE 2, I don't honestly think this changes much. I'll just be honest. Interested to see how it continues to be patched, but currently it doesn't really inspire me, I'll be honest.